Hello YouTube, 잘 지내요? Today's agenda for the video is more of an informational video. As I said before, and what I've been trying to do is I want to do a lot more informational content, and that was included with the gym stuff that we did not too long ago. So today we're going to be talking about a couple hot issues, or one main hot issue, and some other information that might be beneficial to a lot of you coming to Korea. Now, I did want to start with the negative, which is the hot issue that's been going on in Korea for the last few days, because this is really important. So maybe some of you have heard of this, maybe some of you have seen it on other places, but if you haven't, I wanted to kind of let people know of what's going on in Korea. So 5/18, which is a very important day in Korea, basically a day filled with sorrow and depression, where the dictator military group slaughtered many Gwangju citizens in 1980 for an uprising that to go against the dictatorship that was at the time. Hundreds of thousands of people died at this time, and is a day that is constantly remembered and constantly brought up every year to remind people of what happened that day, and to remind people why we fight for democracy, why we fight for our freedom, and all of that. But what happened recently is that the Starbucks CEO, Son Jong-un, decided it would have been a great idea. Now, I know that a lot of these plannings for promotional events usually are 2 or 3 months ahead of time, or maybe, a month or two before the actual event. But for whatever reason, decided it was a good idea to promote a special event on 5/18, and called it Tank Day, where people coming into Starbucks could buy a specialized tumbler specifically for this day on May 18th, and even used phrases such as "tak" on the desk. Oh boy, this was a huge hot issue, because the word Tank Day, because a lot of Gwangju citizens at the time were killed by tanks. The military sent numerous tanks and the full military force to kill and put down this uprising. So using the phrase Tank Day is a little on the nose, but the phrase "tak" on the desk is a little more subtle for a lot of people. They might not know what that means, why that actually has any relevance. But "tak" on the desk, or "tak," the word "tak," basically "tak" has this really strong negative connotation due to student activist Park Jong-chul, when the police captured him and basically tortured him. That's what they did. But they claimed he died on his own when he hit himself very hard on the desk with a "tak" sound and gave himself a heart attack. That's what they claimed. They said, oh, he died because of a heart attack because of the sound was really loud and he hit himself too hard. Meanwhile, they're like waterboarding him and torturing him and all of this, and that's why he died. And so that phrase "tak," because it was everybody knew that they had killed him, and that they were trying to justify it in such really upsetting way that phrase "tak" is really strong negative connotation. So understandably, everyone is hating the CEO of Starbucks, and even he has been since removed. I think it was a day after the event that everyone realized very quickly, like, hey, what are you doing, man? Like, this is the worst idea that anyone has ever come up with. Like, this is absolutely not a good idea. So the head CEO of Shinsegae has removed him. For those of you who might not understand why he did that, is because Starbucks falls underneath the Shinsegae group. So even though there's a CEO for Korea Starbucks itself is still owned by Shinsegae in Korea. So the CEO of Shinsegae has more of a role in this. But it is a little bit weird, because it does call questions on the CEO of Shinsegae himself, because again, a lot of these ideas have to get run through the upper rungs, and maybe he didn't approve of this specific promotion, but he might have had some word of it or some wind of it at some point. And even if he didn't, it is still very questionable why he didn't have more of a role in it in general. And there have been a lot of speculations, because the CEO of Shinsegae Group is also kind of a little bit more open in his political voice. So a lot of people are kind of like, there's something wrong there with that guy, but we can't really say much. Right now, a lot of the fault just lies on the Starbucks CEO. So he has been sacked, so to speak. He is no longer the CEO of Starbucks, rightfully so, for this very poorly designed event. So Now, people are still going to go to Starbucks, I think. I mean, I've seen people go to Starbucks the last few days, but there are significantly less people. I don't think it's going to last. I think people will eventually just go back to Starbucks because, you know, time passes and people will eventually forget about it. And that is, it's sad, but Starbucks itself, the locations, the stores themselves, the personal managers, they might have not had a say in much of this, so it does suck for them as well, because it is a franchise, so they might lose money on top of that. So I don't know what happened during this time through the process of making decisions for this promotional event. I don't know if anyone at one point decided, hey, this is not a good idea, but either way, that has been the hottest issue for the last few days since obviously May 18th. So I just wanted to let everyone know what was going on with that and what that significance was of why it was so bad. Now then, moving on past the negative news, there is something I wanted to share with all of you that might help in your future trip to Korea. Something called Koji Map. Koji Map, or literally Beggar's Map, is this new application that's been made. I think it was started a couple months ago, to be honest. Amidst rising prices, steep prices in Seoul and most of Korea, housing prices, renting prices, food prices, transportation price, everything kind of increasing. Amongst the generations that exist, the youngest generation is suffering the most at this. And so a lot of younger generation, Gen Z specifically, are struggling to find ways to get by, eat meals, go to school, go to work, and all of this. So this map details all the restaurants that are less than 만원, or around that price. Most of them fall around the 5,000 to 7,000 range, which is a godsend. So if you're just looking for a place to eat that doesn't break the bank, Koji Map is the best application right now to download. Now I'm gonna go show you real quick what it looks like, so stay tuned for that. Alrighty, YouTube, so this is the Koji Map you can see right here. Ooh. Basically, open this up and there you go, boom. It shows you all the restaurants that are within the area that serve under 만원, maybe close to 만원. Now, as you can see, like those that are a little bit more expensive, like the 7,000won, the 7,000 won, they're highlighted yellow. So it's like, hey, this is a little more expensive. And then they kind of have a breakdown of the restaurant itself. Now, I know this is all in Korean. You don't really need to know exactly all this stuff in Korean if you're just simply looking to look for a really budget-friendly meal in Korea. And this is like all over. I'm zooming out, it's all over, right? There's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of places where you can get really cheap meals. And they even have GIFs as well where you can download them, so you can get like a cheaper meal with certain places. Now this does require a login for this. I didn't make an account myself, so I'm not actually sure if you need a Korean account to make the login or not, but just for those of you who are looking for cheap meals in Korea without having to spend a lot of money, this application itself could be very useful. Okay, and there you have it. Yeah, that's Koji Map. It's really simple. Anyone can download it. It says the name of the application on the application itself. So if you're a foreigner coming in, you can download it. There's nothing to stop anyone from downloading this map. Now, like I said earlier, I'm not sure if you can make an account with this application, but it will still be useful in guiding yourself around Seoul. There are plenty of places to eat in Seoul and Korea in general. There's lots and lots of delicious restaurants, but maybe you're kind of coming on a budget-friendly tour of Korea. Maybe you want to focus more of your money on like the experiences or bigger events. Maybe save one big expensive meal for one night out. And this map definitely helps for budgeting, basically. So if you're a budgeting traveler and you're looking to eat cheaper meals, this application is a must-have for anyone traveling to Korea. I haven't personally tried it myself. Maybe I'll try it at some point just to see what the restaurants are like, but I can't assume that any of these restaurants are bad by any means. Like, just because it's cheap does not mean it's not delicious. A lot of these restaurants will provide very decent meals for very good prices. A case in point, gimbap is probably one of the best, cheapest meals you can get. They're usually between 3,000 to 4,000 won, depends on the place and what kind of gimbap you get. But for a satisfactory meal, gimbap is really cheap. And that goes with bibimbap as well. Jeonju bibimbap is usually pretty cheap. A lot of those like rice-based meals can be very cheap and very filling. Now, of course, if you're starting to add some protein, things like that, it does get a little bit more expensive. So these restaurants might fill that need where you can get protein, rice, vegetables, all of that for a really good price. Anyways, YouTube, that's all I got for today. Those are the two big things that I wanted to mention. Now, I know that the Beggar's Map has been around for a while, so but I haven't really heard a lot of foreigners talking about it, so I wanted to explain to anyone coming that it might be a good app. Lastly, this is not really too much of information, but the Seoul Spring Festival is still going on. The Pokemon event is still going on till the end of the month. So if you are watching this and you're still planning to get a travel in within the end of this month, then you still got time to go. I myself will probably go maybe around the last day of the month or so. I'm not sure yet, but anyways, the Spring Festival for the Seoul Forest Park, I keep saying Spring Festival, the garden show will last till October. So that in itself, you still got plenty of time, YouTube. Anyways, thanks for watching as always. See you next time for another awesome video.